Primal Kitchen is known for outrageously delicious sauces and condiments, and now their pure avocado oil can be a staple in your kitchen too. With its high smoke point, neutral flavor, and healthy fats, it's perfect for grilling, baking, sautéing, marinating, whatever you're cooking. Primal Kitchen pure avocado oil gets the job done. Pure, quality tested, and trusted. Grab a bottle at Walmart stores nationwide or online at walmart.com.
Is it time to reimagine your future? The right business skills may make a difference in your career. At Capella University, we offer a relevant education that's designed to focus on what you need to know in the business world. We'll teach professional skills to help you pursue your goals, like business management, strategic planning, and effective communication. And you can apply these skills right away. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
And away we go, episode 1226 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Friday, December 26, 2025, and what do you know? This is episode 1226 on 1226. What were the odds of that happening? If you celebrate Christmas, hope you had a great Christmas. Hope your Christmas was better than that of the Washington Commanders, a 30-23 loss to the Dallas Cowboys at Northwest Stadium on Thursday afternoon, Christmas afternoon, to fall to 4-12 in the NFL's 2025 regular season. The Commanders now have gone from 3-2 to 4-12, 10 losses in 11 games in a season that cannot end soon enough, and soon will end. One more game to go. The 4-12 Commanders at the 10-5 Philadelphia Eagles in Week 18. Date and time to be announced. The Eagles are at the 11-4 Buffalo Bills this Sunday afternoon at 4:25. But yes, Operation Lose Out 2.0. OLO is nearing its conclusion. Hit the music.
Operation Lose Out. Yeah, we're running it back. Did it once for JD5. Now we're back on track. Every Sunday feels like deja vu. Dropping L's on purpose. What else we gonna do? Take the snap, take the fall. Let the future make the call. Stack the picks, trust the route. It's version 2.0. Time to lose out.
Yes, sir. Time to lose out. Hello and welcome to this Friday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. What is a historical installment of this podcast? The first ever episode of the podcast published late in a day. This podcast was published on Friday evening, December 26th. One of the missions of this podcast is that there is a new episode each weekday, Monday through Friday, with each episode out by 5 a.m. Eastern, and often much earlier than that. But with Thursday having been Christmas and with the valuable information about the Commanders' loss to the Cowboys not coming out until Friday, I wanted to wait until Friday evening to put out a proper show. So good to have you with us. Coming up on the show, in-depth reaction to and analysis of this latest loss for our team in this horrendous season. Next segment, discussion of this loss to the Cowboys, concluding the Commanders in their franchise record 8 standalone games in this regular season, going 0-8 with a point differential of -77, and conversation about the team's atrocious injury luck in this regular season getting even worse. The following segment, analysis of the offense in this loss to the Cowboys, including quality performances by quarterback Josh Johnson, running back Jacory Croskey-Merritt, and receiver Deebo Samuel Sr. The segment after that, a breakdown of a really odd game for the defense, which no, was not good, but it not being good happened in a strange way. And the segment after that, thoughts on special teams, including a good game for kicker Jake Moody and the penalty problem of safety Tyler Owens continuing. Before we get to some feedback, reports on Wednesday afternoon, Christmas Eve afternoon, that the Washington Nationals have agreed with free agent first baseman Matt Mervis on a minor league contract with an invite to spring training. He's going into his age 28 season, has struggled at the major Major League level and playing in regular season games for the Chicago Cubs and Miami Marlins, but he is a local. He went to my high school, in fact, Georgetown Prep in North Bethesda, Maryland. It was actually taken by the Nats in the 39th round of the 2016 MLB first-year player draft, but he didn't sign with the Nats, instead went to Duke. Also, we have college football news. Maryland, on Christmas afternoon, announced that edge defender Zahir Mathis is returning to the school for a sophomore season. He is not entering the NCAA transfer portal. And edge defender Sidney Stewart, he early Friday morning announced that he is returning to the school for his sophomore season. He is not entering the NCAA transfer portal. Really good news if you're a Terrapins fan like me. Mathis and Stewart were two of the Terps' best players this season. Also, James Madison quarterback Alonzo Barnett III, he on Friday afternoon announced that he is entering the NCAA transfer portal. Is this the start of a mass exodus of JMU players off head coach Bob Chesney leaving to become UCLA head coach? We'll see. Also, we on Friday afternoon learned that Virginia Tech quarterback Pop Watson III is entering the NCAA transfer portal. And we in college football have Virginia versus Missouri in the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl at Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville, Florida on Saturday night at 7:30. The consensus line for this game per Action Network as of Friday evening was UVA +4. Missouri for this game has many more opt-outs than Virginia has, and yet a lot of public money is on Missouri. I shall take Virginia +4 in a Goldilocks selection. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Feedback on the Commanders off their loss to the Cowboys on Christmas afternoon. Email from Rick Proctor, writes Rick, "Hey Al, how sweet it is. Hashtag Olo." Thank you for the email, Rick. Operation Lose Out 2.0. Olo is rolling, is near completion. 10 losses in 11 games. So the Commanders, as we speak, have the number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. But that could change depending on what happens this Sunday. So the Commanders are 4-12. 4 teams in front of the Commanders in the draft order are 3-12. All of those teams are playing in games this Sunday afternoon at 1. You want to root hard for those teams to win this Sunday afternoon. Those teams in those games, the 3-12 Arizona Cardinals and the 5-10 Cincinnati Bengals, Sunday afternoon at 1. The 3-12 Cleveland Browns, home to the 9-6 Pittsburgh Steelers, Sunday afternoon at 1. The 3-12 New York Jets, home to the 12-3 New England Patriots, Sunday afternoon at 1. And the 3-12 Tennessee Titans, home to the 5-10 New Orleans Saints, Sunday afternoon at 1. And, by the way, also this Sunday is a game between the two teams holding the top 2 picks in the 2026 NFL Draft. The 2-13 New York Giants at the 2-13 Las Vegas Raiders, Sunday afternoon at 4:05 in a game neither team should want to win. The Giants currently have the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Email from Dave in Israel. Writes Dave, "Dear Al, in a season where we are grasping for reasons to get excited about our team, Scott Hansen provided a big highlight on Thursday. For those who are listening to the Legend of Red Zone, he dropped an R-bomb during one of his segments. Here's hoping that next year we'll have more on our minds than this, but that's all I've got for you." Hashtag Olo. Thank you for the email, Dave. So another hashtag Olo. Well, the Commanders for this loss to the Cowboys, of course, were wearing the Redskins-like alternate uniform that was introduced to overwhelming support this past July 9th. So I can't blame Scott Hansen for saying the R word, for saying Redskins, the naughty word. Hopefully we have just one more game for the Commanders not having this Redskins-like alternate uniform as the team's number 1 uniform. Hopefully, starting next season, that uniform is the team's number 1 uniform. The uniform is great. Now, the results in the uniform have not been great, but the uniform is great. 3 games for the Commanders in the Redskins-like alt-uni in this regular season. 0-3 is our team's record in those games. The 38-14 loss to the Seattle Seahawks at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football on November 2nd. The 27-26 overtime loss to the Denver Broncos at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football on November 30th. And now this 30-23 loss to the Dallas Cowboys at Northwest Stadium on Christmas afternoon. Hey, if you happen to be listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can write a review of the podcast saying that you like it. The review can be just a sentence or 2, but the reviews help out the podcast a lot. Thank you for doing them.
Having the right people in your corner for life's biggest milestones makes all the difference. Like a friend who's there when you're house hunting or checking out a new ride, State Farm is there too, helping you choose the coverage you need. With a State Farm agent, you know someone is there to help you along the way. And with so many coverage options, it's nice knowing you have help choosing a plan that fits your needs, so you can continue celebrating all of life's milestones. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Suffering from dry, tired, irritated eyes? Don't let dry eyes win. Use Systane Pro. It hydrates, restores, and protects dry eyes for up to 12 hours. Systane Pro. Triple action dry eye relief.
So if you follow me on X at Al Galdi, you likely know that I shortly after each game for the Washington Commanders put out at least one post with one of my biggest takeaways from the game. I'm not a fan of posting on X during games. I like actually watching the games and paying attention to the games and taking notes on the games. But shortly after each game, we'll put out at least one post with one of my biggest takeaways from the game. Honestly, if you do what I do for a living, you have to have a presence on X. As toxic as X can be, you do have to have a presence on X. The amount of traffic on X on a Commanders game day is massive, so to not partake in that would be foolish on my part. Occasionally, what I post shortly after a Commanders game will go viral, and what I posted shortly after the Commanders' 30-23 loss to the Dallas Cowboys at Northwest Stadium on Thursday afternoon, Christmas afternoon, did go viral. And I bring this up not to pat myself on the back, but to highlight why I think this post went viral. The post went viral, in my opinion, because what I posted is so jarring. And what I posted is a stat that I had been tracking. So this game was the final game of the Commanders' 8 standalone games in the NFL's 2025 regular season, a franchise record for a regular season. The Commanders in these games went 0-8 with a point differential of -77. Think about that. 0-8 with a point differential of -77. In a regular season in which the NFL, the National Football League, showcased the Washington Commanders, they, in their franchise record 8 standalone games, went 0-8 with a point differential of -77. The 0-8 in standalone games is made up of the following. The 27-18 loss at the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football on September 11th. The 25-24 walk-off loss to the Chicago Bears at a rainy Northwest Stadium on Monday Night Football on October 13th. The 28-7 loss at the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football on October 27th. The 38-14 loss to the Seattle Seahawks at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football on November 2nd. The 16-13 overtime loss to the Miami Dolphins in Madrid on November 16th in the first ever NFL regular season game in Spain. The 27-26 overtime loss to the Denver Broncos at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football on November 30th. The 29-18 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles at Northwest Stadium on Saturday evening, December 20th. And now, this 30-23 loss to the Dallas Cowboys at Northwest Stadium on Christmas afternoon. The Commanders, our NFL team, they, in their franchise record 8 standalone games in the 2025 regular season, went 0-8 with a point differential of -77. Awful, horrible, embarrassing, pathetic. Now, so much of this, of course, is about our team having been annihilated by injury. I mean, just look at the depleted nature of the Commanders for this game against the Cowboys on Christmas. Let's start with the offense. The Commanders' offense for this game was without the following players. Quarterbacks Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota. Left tackle Laramie Tunsil. Right guard Samuel Cosmi. Receivers Noah Brown, Jalen Lane, and Luke McCaffrey. Tight end Zach Ertz and running backs Austin Eckler and Chris Rodriguez Jr. And the Rodriguez thing is so typical of the Commanders' atrocious injury luck this season. So Chris Rodriguez was inactive due to illness. The Commanders the day before, the Commanders on Wednesday afternoon, Christmas Eve, announced that Rodriguez was the team's offensive captain for this game. But the Commanders on Thursday morning, Christmas morning, Merry Christmas, announced that Rodriguez was a late addition to the injury report for the game due to illness, and he ended up being inactive for this game. And then during the game, center Tyler Owens was knocked out of the game due to suffering knee and ankle injuries in the second quarter. We don't know the severity of each injury, but this absolutely is concerning that Tyler Owens may have suffered a serious knee injury and may have suffered a serious ankle injury. You look at the Commanders' offensive line in this game. Right guard Samuel Cosmi is on the reserve/injured list on which he was placed this past Monday afternoon, December 22nd, due to a concussion that he suffered in the loss to the Eagles. Left tackle Laramie Tunsil for a second consecutive game was inactive due to an oblique injury. The Commanders' starting offensive line for this loss to the Cowboys was Brandon Coleman at left tackle, Chris Paul at left guard, Tyler Owens at center, Nick Allegretti, not Andrew Wiley, at right guard. That was surprising off what head coach Dan Quinn had said. And Josh Conerly Jr. at right tackle. Chris Paul, Nick Allegretti, and Josh Conerly each played on 100% of the Commanders' offensive snaps, but Allegretti played at both right guard and center as Tyler Owens was knocked out of the game in the second quarter. Owens played on just 36% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Allegretti, who started at right guard, moved to playing center, and Andrew Wiley, who we thought was going to start at right guard, he took over at right guard. He played on 66% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Brandon Coleman played on 98% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. He missed one snap due to an injury concern, but he quickly came back into the game. But Coleman did commit 2 5-yard false start penalties, 1st and 10 for the Commanders at their 35 with 4:36 left in the third quarter. Coleman committed a 5-yard false start penalty. And 4th and 3 for the Commanders at the Cowboys 45 with 11:38 left in the fourth quarter. Coleman committed a 5-yard false start penalty, what was a killer penalty. Offensive tackle Trent Scott played on 2 of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Offensive tackle George Fant was active but did not play at all. Now, the Commanders' offensive line overall did a good job, paved the way for running back Jacory Croskey-Merritt to have 11 carries for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. Protected quarterback Josh Johnson to where he had a yards per pass attempt of 8.61 and a yards per completion of 13.2 and took just 1 sack. But yeah, the offense in this game, maybe more than in any other game in this injury-ravaged season, was a shell of what the offense is supposed to be. And the Commanders' defense for this game was without the following players. Interior defensive linemen Deron Payne and Eddie Goldman. Edge defenders Dorrance Armstrong, Dietrich Wise Jr., and Javonte Jean-Baptiste. And cornerbacks Marshawn Lattimore and Trey Amos. Also cornerback Jonathan Jones. He in the second quarter was evaluated for a concussion, though he did return to the game. I am not here to make excuses for Dan Quinn. I, like many of you, am very bothered by the fact that the Commanders not once during this time of the team being torn apart by injury have risen up, have stepped up to author a significant upset win. Upsets in the NFL happen all of the time. The Commanders, during this time of being torn apart by injury, have played at or below their expected level of play. Not once has there been what you would call a true coaching win, and that's extremely disappointing. That does not speak well for this coaching staff. But, it's not making excuses to acknowledge the absurd degree to which the Commanders have been walloped by injury this season. It is ridiculous what has happened with this team this season in terms of injury. This season has been a nightmare. My post on X shortly after the loss to the Eagles this past Saturday evening was, quote, "The sooner that this Washington Commander season ends, the better," end quote. I stand by that wholeheartedly. I can't wait until our team season is over, and I'd bet a lot of money that the team itself can't wait until its season is over. Among the many of us who have suffered through these many bad seasons for Washington is a great supporter of this podcast, Dr. George Verghese. He is one of the nation's premier dermatologists. He is a very loyal and very knowledgeable Washington fan, and operating under his direction is the Mid-Atlantic Skin Surgery Institute of Maryland, which has locations in Waldorf, Maryland, Leonardtown, Maryland, and Lexington Park, Maryland. The Mid-Atlantic Skin Surgery Institute of Maryland focuses on medical skin care, cosmetic procedures, and skin cancer diagnosis and comprehensive care. Call 301-396-3401 or visit midatlanticskin.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Dr. Verghese and the Institute can help you or someone who you care about with any of a number of dermatological needs. If you're dealing with allergic reactions, if you're dealing with acne, psoriasis, or eczema, if you're interested in procedures like Botox, laser hair removal, chemical peels, or smart lipo, which is the latest in body sculpting technology, call 301-396-3401 or visit midatlanticskin.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Also, Dr. Verghese and the Institute offer free skin cancer screenings to anyone considered a new patient, and Dr. Verghese and the Institute offer advanced treatments for skin cancer, including painless and scarless skin cancer treatment. Call 301-396-3401 or visit midatlanticskin.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. For excellent and comprehensive skincare, contact Dr. George Verghese and the Mid-Atlantic Skin Surgery Institute of Maryland and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. All right, the Washington Commanders offense in this 30-23 loss to the Dallas Cowboys at Northwest Stadium on Christmas afternoon to fall to 4-12 in the NFL's 2025 regular season. So it's a shame that the offense barely was on the field, because when the offense was on the field, the offense was mostly good. The Commanders for this game were down to their QB3. The QB1, Jaden Daniels, was inactive for the 9th time in 16 games in this regular season, as he, of course, has been shut down for the season. The QB2, Marcus Mariota, he was inactive off suffering hand and quadriceps injuries in the Commanders' previous game, the 29-18 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles at Northwest Stadium this past Saturday evening, December 20th. Your Commanders' quarterback situation for this loss to the Cowboys was as follows. So the Commanders' starting quarterback was their QB3, Josh Johnson. The Commanders' backup quarterback was Jeff Driscoll, who the team this past Monday afternoon, December 22nd, announced as having signed off the Arizona Cardinals practice squad to the active roster. Driscoll, of course, spent the 2024 season as the Commanders' QB3. And Sam Hartman, he, for this loss to the Cowboys, was the Commanders' QB3. He was a healthy and active, but was designated as the team's emergency quarterback as the Commanders this past Wednesday afternoon, Christmas Eve afternoon, announced having signed Hartman from the practice squad to the active roster. So Sam Hartman is, in fact, now on the team's active roster. Josh Johnson, in this loss to the Cowboys, started an NFL regular season game for the first time since starting for the Baltimore Ravens in a 41-21 loss at the Cincinnati Bengals on December 26, 2021, and this was just his second start in an NFL regular season game since he started each of the Redskins' final 3 games in the 2018 regular season. You know, for as long as Josh Johnson has been in the NFL, he has barely started regular season games. This start was just his 10th career regular season start in the NFL. Understand, this is his age 39 season. The Cowboys defense is not good. The Cowboys for this regular season through week 16 were dead last in the NFL in total defense in terms of DVOA, and were dead last in the NFL in total defense in terms of expected points added per play per RBSDM.com. But even factoring in how bad the Cowboys defense is, Josh Johnson, to me, played well. He played on 98% of the Commanders' offensive snaps as he came out for one snap, which was a trick play. The problem was that the Commanders barely had the ball. They ran just 41 offensive plays to the Cowboys' 87 and lost the time of possession battle by 17 minutes, 28 seconds. However, the Commanders had a yards per play of exactly 8 to the Cowboys 5.52. All of those numbers are so much to take in. I mean, 41 offensive plays to the Cowboys 87. That is a staggering disparity in terms of what one team did in terms of offensive plays versus what the other team did in offensive plays. And yet the Commanders averaged 8 yards per play. Josh Johnson quarterbacked the Commanders offense that averaged a whopping 8 yards per play. A yards per play of 6 is really good. The Commanders' yards per play in this game was 8. So much of this game was just the Cowboys having the ball for so much of this game. But Josh Johnson for the game, per RBSDM.com, had an expected points added per play of 0.24, not far off from what Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott had, 0.29. Johnson went 15 for 23 for 198 yards. He had a yards per pass attempt of 8.61. That's great. He had a yards per completion of 13.2. That's great. Johnson, in completing 15 of his 23 pass attempts, had a completion percentage of 65.22. That's not, spectacular, but that is above league average for this regular season as of games through Christmas. So that league average was 64.4. Johnson had 2 carries for 10 yards. Johnson committed no turnovers, although he did have a rather notable turnover-worthy throw. 2nd and 10 for the Commanders at their 35 with 3:57 left in the third quarter. Johnson had a shotgun play action incompletion on which he threw the ball right to edge defender Sam Williams, who should have had an interception. Johnson on the play was targeting receiver Deebo Samuel Sr., who was wide open. But still, no turnovers for Johnson, and this is his first NFL regular season start in 4 years. Johnson took just 1 sack. It was a bad sack. 3rd and goal for the Commanders at the 3 with 5:29 left in the first quarter. Johnson took a sack by edge defender Jadeveon Clowney for an 8-yard loss. But still, just 1 sack taken by Josh Johnson in his first NFL regular season start in 4 years. Now, his total QBR per ESPN for this game was really bad. I was surprised by how low this came out to be. Johnson for the game, as of games through Christmas, had a total QBR per ESPN of just 21.4. QBR is on a scale of 0 to 150 is average. A total QBR of 21.4 is really bad. Also, Johnson had no touchdown passes in quarterbacking a Commanders offense that went just 1 for 3 in the red zone, and Johnson quarterbacked a Commanders offense that went just 1 for 6 on third downs. But all things considered, Josh Johnson, to me, did well. We, during Commanders head coach Dan Quinn's postgame press conference on Thursday afternoon, had this exchange between David Aldridge of The Athletic and Quinn.
Taking in the loss and being upset about it, and I wonder if you could just explain, like, for people that are maybe watching this game on the outside and see 2 teams that aren't going to be in the playoffs, why it's still important to play at a high level and why it's still important to win games.
Yeah, I definitely can. And I wish I could share some insights to you to see all 5 quarterbacks like in the meal room this morning at 7:45 or 8 o'clock going through another walkthrough together to push to get it right. And so I think that kind of speaks to those Cliff and calls and going through things again. When you get your moments, you want to establish what you can do and prove it. And I think that's at the core of it, David, like the prove it moments. Those are so important. And so that's why I was bummed for Marcus when he was injured. He had these games to go prove it, and we'll see where he goes to next week. But that's what you want when you're in that space, and it's unlikely you get your chance as the third. And so, especially at this stage in his career, knowing, all right, this may be my last chance to go show I can do this. And so taking care of the ball. We played differently today. I think you probably noticed that in terms of huddling more and going into that. And I thought that was by design to say, for all the players, what are their strengths? All these guys bring a lot of different things to the table and how we can feature them in that way. And so for us, it was going to be important, to execute, take care of the ball. And so with the flip of plays, I think, Dave, that was the hardest space, just not to get enough shots and cracks at it. And but to show that, man, I'm in it, I'm capable of doing this with the full week's prep and showing that, and everybody else leaning in around them to find that. It hurts because it's about the win.
All right. Well, also doing well for the Commanders in this loss to the Cowboys was running back Jacory Croskey-Merritt, the man known as Bill. So running back Chris Rodriguez Jr. ended up being inactive for this game, was inactive due to illness. You combine that with running back Austin Eckler remaining on the reserve/injured list. Eckler was part of the Netflix broadcast crew for this game. But with Rodriguez out, with Eckler still out, this game for the Commanders at running back was about Bill, was about Jacory Croskey-Merritt, and he came through. 11 carries for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. No targets. He played on 64% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. So many impressive runs by Bill in this game. First and goal for the Commanders at the 10. Croskey-Merritt had a 10-yard shotgun handoff touchdown run up the middle with 4:35 left in the second quarter. Croskey-Merritt ran through safety Malik Hooker en route to the end zone. First and 10 for the Commanders at their 28 with 9:44 left in the third quarter. Croskey-Merritt had a 72-yard under center handoff touchdown run with 9:34 left in the third quarter on a run on which he, per the NFL's next-gen stats, reached a top speed of 21.62 miles per hour. That kind of breakaway speed, that kind of home run speed, we as Washington fans have been begging for at running back for years. First and 10 for the Commanders at the Cowboys 19 with 1:57 left in the third quarter. Croskey-Merritt had a 13-yard under center handoff run and might have had a touchdown had he not slipped on the rather slippery Northwest Stadium turf. I don't want to overreact to the moment, especially when the moment is happening late in a lost season, but I'm more and more becoming open to the Commanders going into next regular season with Jacory Croskey-Merritt and Chris Rodriguez as the team's top 2 running backs. Yes, you could always be better, but we're seeing enough good things from both guys to where it's not crazy to think that they could lead the way for a quality rushing offense next season. During Dan Quinn's postgame press conference on Thursday afternoon at this exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic and Quinn.
I have no voice, so hopefully this works well.
Last questions for you.
For Bill, just how have you seen him handle mentally sort of the ups and downs of his rookie season?
Yeah, the thing that comes to mind that I'm impressed by is like coming in, I know this was a short week, but some of the running backs told me this earlier, like he likes to meet early and get ahead. So when we got to, how we were doing blitz pickup meetings, he was the one answering. Like he's so urgent about wanting to deliver for the guys, Nikki. So I think that's where I'm seeing the growth on the protection side, taking what's there in the running game. Early on in the season, it was kind of make a big play where it was 2nd and 1, can I get the first down? So finding the end zone, that's a big deal in the long run. Getting outside and finishing, those are some of the things. But I've seen him grow a lot in the knowledge of the game plan. Those were big.
All right. Also with Commanders running backs in this loss to the Cowboys, Jeremy McNichols had 1 carry for -2 yards and had 3 receptions for 12 yards on 3 targets and playing on 41% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Chase Edmonds had no touches and playing on just 1 of the Commanders' offensive snaps. The Commanders receivers in this loss to the Cowboys, good game for Terry McLaurin. He in his 5th game back off having missed 7 of the Commanders' previous 8 games due to a twice-injured quadriceps. Had 5 receptions for 63 yards on 7 targets and playing on 86% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. He for the game had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 83.7. That's quite good. PFF grades are on a scale of 0 to 100. 60 is average. Really good game for Deebo Samuel Sr., who is making his case to be re-signed by the Commanders. Deebo, this coming offseason, set to be an unrestricted free agent. Next season will be his age 30 season, but he in this game was so impressive. Deebo had 2 receptions for 68 yards on 4 targets and had 2 carries for 25 yards. Also, he drew a 4-yard defensive pass interference penalty in the red zone, did commit a 5-yard false start penalty that ended the first half. He played on 82% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. He for the game had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 75.7. The yards after catch, the yak generated by Deebo in this game, outstanding. First and 10 for the Commanders at the Cowboys 47 with 7:45 left in the first quarter. Josh Johnson had a 41-yard shotgun fake toss completion to Deebo, who was sensational in generating 43 yards after the catch, and Deebo in generating the yak took off the helmet. of safety Donovan Wilson in one of the highlights of this season. Not that there have been many highlights for our team this season, but that is one of the highlights for our team this season. 2nd and 12 for the Commanders at their 27 with 11:25 left in the second quarter. Josh Johnson had a 27-yard shotgun play action completion to Deebo, who generated 11 yards after the catch. Deebo made an impact as a runner. 1st and 10 for the Commanders at their 40 with exactly 7 minutes left in the second quarter. Deebo had a 29-yard under center handoff end around run. Deebo drew that red zone penalty. 3rd and 8 for the Commanders at the Cowboys 14 with 4:43 left in the second quarter. Deebo drew a 4-yard defensive pass interference penalty by defensive back Reddy Stewart. Deebo did commit a 5-yard false start penalty. 2nd and 3 for the Commanders at their 42 with 4 seconds left in the second quarter. Deebo committed a 5-yard false start penalty to end the first half. But man, big time production from Deebo Samuel in this game. We saw a lot of Treylon Burks in this game. He only had 1 reception for 11 yards on 2 targets, but Burks played on 91% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Chris Moore had 1 reception for 15 yards on 1 target and playing on 18% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. So River Craycraft did not play on any of the Commanders' offensive snaps, did play on special teams. The Commanders on Wednesday afternoon announced having elevated Craycraft from the practice squad for this game, and Noah Brown, Jalen Lane, and Luke McCaffrey are on the reserve/injured list. And Commanders tight ends in this loss to the Cowboys, Ben Sinnott, 3 receptions for 29 yards on 4 targets and playing on 61% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. He, for the game, had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 73.0. Good to see him have a good game. John Bates had no targets and playing on 43% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Colson Yankoff returned from a 1-game absence caused by an ankle injury. He had no targets and playing on 9% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. And Zach Ertz is on the reserve/injured list. Hey, if you have a case, contact the NACE Law Group. Accident and injury lawyers. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the NACE Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, and mention that Al Galdi sent you. You could call 202-902-7611. You could also visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and submit for a free, no-obligation case review. The NACE Law Group, it features compassionate lawyers and zealous advocates for its clients, led by the great Chris Nace and founded in 1979. The NACE Law Group is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C. and West Virginia. The NACE Law Group is outstanding. It will fight for you and your family. The NACE Law Group can help you and your family make difficult decisions. The NACE Law Group has recovered millions of dollars for the sick and injured. If you have a case, contact the NACE Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the NACE Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. Well, we had the Washington Commanders 30-23 loss to the Dallas Cowboys at Northwest Stadium on Christmas afternoon to fall to 4-12 in the NFL's 2025 regular season. Had one of the strangest games for an NFL defense that you'll ever see. So this was game number 6 for the Commanders, with head coach Dan Quinn serving as defensive coordinator, off him on November 10th, having announced having demoted Joe Witt Jr. and having taken over as defensive coordinator. The defense in this game was bad, but in an odd way. So it should be noted that the Cowboys have a very good offense. So the Cowboys for this regular season through Week 16 were number 7 in the NFL in total offense in terms of DVOA, and were number 5 in the NFL in total offense in terms of expected points added per play per RBSDM.com. The Commanders' defense, as you may have heard, is not good and has been hit hard by injury. The Commanders allowed the Cowboys to put up 480 total net yards of offense, average 5.52 yards per play, go 8 for 20 on third downs, and go 2 for 2 in the red zone. But nothing was more jaw-dropping than the Commanders allowing the Cowboys to go 6 for 6 on fourth downs. That is incomprehensible. Fourth down efficiency for an NFL team in a regular season game, and yet our Commanders allowed such an efficiency. They allowed the Cowboys to go 6 for 6 on fourth downs. We, during Dan Quinn's postgame press conference on Thursday afternoon, had this exchange between David Aldridge of The Athletic and Quinn.
You guys owned fourth down last year.
Yes.
And do you think there's a better way to kind of summarize what's flipped, that they were able to go for fourth down over and over and over again and convert all the time? I think
Dallas,
it was 6
is that
to
you're
6.
saying? Yeah, to have 6 out of 6, man, that was impressive to see. So I attribute a lot of that to Dak, to where they're going to go. When you get into those short ones, thought their line did a nice job moving us off, to create, the movements, like moments of sneak, inside styles of runs. And then on another one, like I said, we had doubled, some other players, and so I think they went one to Tolbert, and but that's hard to do, and they did it for sure. But yeah, the fourth down wins, that was as big a factor in the game as any, because those are possessions that end there, no points, no extension, no time, and so it's a big deal. We had a couple from our end that we were prepared to. Like I said, in the second half one, we were willing to go up to 4. It was like, 2nd and 1, 3rd and 2, and then a penalty on a false start that went to like 4th and 6 or 7. So, but I thought the 3rd and 4th downs was the difference in the game there. As much as they ran the ball, extending the drives was that way to me.
Yeah, man, unreal. The Commanders allowing the Cowboys to go 6 for 6 on 4th downs. The Commanders held Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott to just 19 completions on 37 pass attempts, and yet he threw for 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. So he had a completion percentage of just 51.35, but also a yards per pass attempt of 8.3 and a yards per completion of 16.16. That is so bizarre. A defense holding a quarterback to such a low completion percentage while also allowing that quarterback to register a really high yards per pass attempt and a really high yards per completion. A big part of this was the 86-yard touchdown reception by receiver Kevontae Turpin. 3rd and 11 for the Cowboys at their 14. The Commanders gave up an 86-yard shotgun touchdown bomb by Dak Prescott to Kevontae Turpin with exactly 7 minutes left in the second quarter. Also on the play was linebacker Frankie Louvu committing a defensive offside penalty that was declined, but Turpin generated 46 yards after the catch, and it sure seemed like safety Quan Morton was a big-time culprit on the play, and sure enough, Morton again got benched. 3rd time in this regular season that Morton has gotten benched. He played on just 30% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. He, for the game, had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of just 40.3. Commander safeties in this game. Will Harris played on 100% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. Jeremy Reeves, 84%. Quan Morton, 30%. Percy Butler and Tyler Owens each did not play on any of the Commanders' defensive snaps, but did play on special teams. But yeah, Quan Morton played on a mere 30% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. Also, with the Commanders' defense, it again was bad against the run. The Commanders allowed Cowboys running backs Malik Davis, Javonte Williams, and Hunter Lipke to combine for 40 carries for 187 yards and a touchdown. That works out to a yards per carry of 4.68, and there were the penalties. The Commanders as a team had 10 accepted penalties for 71 yards. 5 of the accepted penalties were by the defense, which also had a penalty that was declined. But way too many penalties by this Commanders defense. 3rd and 6 for the Cowboys at their 26 with 14:23 left in the first quarter. Cornerback Noah Igbenogany committed a 9-yard defensive pass interference penalty. 2nd and 7 for the Cowboys at their 34 with 3:13 left in the first quarter. Cornerback Jonathan Jones committed a 7-yard defensive pass interference penalty. 2nd and goal for the Cowboys at the 9 with 12:16 left in the second quarter. Safety Jeremy Reeves committed a 5-yard unnecessary roughness penalty for a helmet-to-helmet hit on receiver George Pickens, negating an incompletion. Now, the call was ticky-tack, but Reeves technically did make helmet-to-helmet contact, and the next snap resulted in running back Javonte Williams' 1st and goal 4-yard offset I formation handoff touchdown run with 12:06 left in the second quarter, concluding a 17-play, 65-yard drive that consumed 7 minutes, 38 seconds off the clock. 3rd and 9 for the Cowboys at the Commanders' 41 with 5:58 left in the third quarter. Linebacker Frankie Louvu committed a 15-yard unnecessary roughness penalty, negating a sack by edge defender Von Miller and giving the Cowboys a first down. And on a 1st and 10 for the Cowboys at the Commanders' 48 with 5:51 left in the fourth quarter, interior defensive lineman Johnny Newton committed a 5-yard defensive holding penalty. Way too many penalties by the Commanders' defense in this game, and the Commanders had no takeaways, leaving our team with a mere 9 takeaways over 16 games in this regular season. But also with the Commanders' defense in this game, the pass rush. The Commanders registered 6 sacks and 11 quarterback hits. The pass rush actually was quite good. A monster game for interior defensive lineman Johnny Newton as a pass rusher. He played on 61% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. He had 3 sacks, became the first Washington player with at least 3 sacks in a regular season game since edge defender Preston Smith on December 26, 2015. So 1 day before the 10-year anniversary of Preston Smith's 3-sack game, Johnny Newton had a 3-sack game. He, for the game, had 5 quarterback hits. Now, you know, Newton had 3 sacks. You could argue he overall did not have a good game. He struggled against the run, and he did commit that aforementioned 5-yard defensive holding penalty. In fact, Newton for the game had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of just 47.1. But how good was it to see Johnny Newton dominate as a pass rusher? The Commanders took him in the second round of the 2024 NFL Draft out of the University of Illinois. He overall has been a disappointment over his 2 NFL seasons, but a tremendous performance as a pass rusher in this game. During Dan Quinn's postgame press conference on Thursday afternoon, had this exchange between Commanders insider Ben Standing of Last Man Standing on Substack and Quinn.
Dan, with regards to Johnny Newton, obviously to have 3 sacks is, for any player, is a tremendous game. But based on what you've seen to him today and just this whole year, what gives you the confidence that this was not just a one-off in terms of production, that you will be able to see some version of this going forward into next year?
Yeah, I think the disruption, the quickness, Ben, so those are the skills that he has. And so to hear him put all the pieces together, anticipation of plays, how to go execute it to go, I felt that. And some of that's instinctual, to go, it's pass, it's a run, where can I go? And so it does take some time to learn that. And when you do, as a ball player, the game slows down because now you can anticipate a little better. I know the defensive call, I got that. Now how can I apply my skills into this call? What you don't want, we had some of this early in the year, I'll go make a play, I'll go over try on one. And that's part of instincts, knowing when and when not to, much like a quarterback. Can I fit this one in or can't I, on the tight throw? And so it's no different at other positions. Do I go take my shot to run through? Can I, know this to pass to hit a move? So to see those instincts come through, and it can slow down, and that's a little bit what we were talking about tonight post-game, and you got to write those things down. What happened? What did it look like? So you don't have to, search for it, a week from now.
All right, Commanders interior defensive lineman in this loss to the Cowboys. Javon Kinlaw played on 64% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. Johnny Newton, 61%. Sheldon Day, 21%. Ricky Barber, 16%. Shy Tuttle, 15%. Who the heck are Ricky Barber and Shy Tuttle? Good question. The Commanders this past Wednesday afternoon announced having elevated Barber from the practice squad for this game, and the Commanders this past Monday afternoon announced having claimed Tuttle off waivers from the Tennessee Titans. 2 key absences in terms of Commanders' interior defensive linemen in this loss to the Cowboys. Deron Payne was inactive due to a back injury, and Eddie Goldman is on the reserve/injured list, on which he was placed this past Monday afternoon, December 22nd, due to a concussion that he suffered in the Commanders' 29-21 win at the New York Giants on December 14th. The Commanders' edge defenders in this loss to the Cowboys, Jacob Martin played on 70% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. Jalen Holmes, 51%. Preston Smith, 32%. Drake Jackson, 28%. Von Miller, 26%. And Dorrance Armstrong, Dietrich Wise Jr., and Javonte John Baptiste are on the reserve/injured list. And also with the Commanders' defense in this loss to the Cowboys was the Commanders holding Dak Prescott to just 19 completions on 37 pass attempts. He was off on some throws, but he overall is having a terrific season. So for the Commanders to hold him to that completion percentage of just 51.35 was impressive. 8 pass defenses for the Commanders in this game. How about the pass defense by safety Jeremy Reeves, 2nd and 7 for the Cowboys at the Commanders 40 with 13:46 left in the fourth quarter. Reeves had a spectacular diving pass defense on an under-center play-action deep incompletion intended for receiver CeeDee Lamb, who had Reeves beat. Another good game for linebacker Bobby Wagner. He played on 100% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. He, for the game, had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 87. Commanders linebackers in this game, Wagner and Frankie Louvu, each played on 100% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. Jordan McGee played on 52% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. He, for the game, had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 73.8. Keen Medrano and Ale Cajo each did not play on any of the Commanders' defensive snaps, but did play on special teams. Nick Ballore was inactive due to a concussion. And Commanders cornerbacks in this loss to the Cowboys, Mikey Sainristil played on 98% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. He, for the game, had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of just 44.2. This was another game in which both Quan Martin and Mikey Sainristil struggled. Jonathan Jones played on 88% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. Noah Igbenogany, 51%. He, for the game, had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of just 36.2. Antonio Hamilton Sr. played on 12% of the Commanders' defensive snaps, and Marshawn Lattimore and Trey Amos are on the reserve/injured list. We conceivably, if not likely, are just a few weeks away from the Commanders hiring a defensive coordinator, and there may not be a single more important move by the team this coming offseason than who the team hires as defensive coordinator, assuming that the team hires a defensive coordinator and doesn't stick with Dan Quinn as defensive coordinator. Because let's be honest, who the team hires as defensive coordinator could very well determine whether Dan Quinn is the team's head coach beyond next season.
And now, Superhuman Shaq.
I keep telling them not to say that. I'm no superhuman. Believe it or not, I struggle with moderate obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA. In adults with obesity, moderate to severe OSA is a condition where breathing is interrupted during sleep with loud snoring, choking, gasping for air, and even daytime fatigue. Let's just say it can sound a lot like this. Sound familiar? Learn more at don'tsleeponosa.com.
This information is provided by Lilly, a medicine company.
The Lowe's Closeout event means the final savings of the season are here. It's your last chance to get deals on seasonal decor, tools, flooring, and so much more. Refresh your home, check off your project list, or simply stock up on the brands you trust. Shop now to grab amazing deals before they're gone. Lowe's. We help, you save. Valid through 1/7. Selection varies by location while supplies last.
More now on the Washington Commanders off their 30-23 loss to the Dallas Cowboys at Northwest Stadium on Christmas afternoon to fall to 4-12 in the NFL's 2025 regular season. Let's talk Commander special teams. A good game for kicker Jake Moody. He went 3 for 3 on field goals and 2 for 2 on extra points. So Moody connected on a 29-yard field goal with 4:44 left in the first quarter, connected on a 23-yard field goal with 16 seconds left in the third quarter, and connected on a 51-yard field goal with 2:09 left in the fourth quarter. Really good to see him hit the 51-yarder, what was his first field goal attempt of at least 50 yards since being acquired by the Commanders. So Moody came to the Commanders having gone just 54 for 71 on field goals in his NFL regular season career, including just 6 for 12 on field goal attempts of at least 50 yards. So the Commanders on November 18th announced having signed Moody off the Chicago Bears practice squad. He with the Commanders now is 9 for 9 on field goals and 7 for 8 on extra points. Doing a good job. The lone Commanders player to make the Pro Bowl for this regular season, punter Tress Way, another good game for him. He over 3 punts, averaged 43.33 yards per punt and 43.33 net yards per punt. When a punter has the same net yards per punt as yards per punt. That's good. Way's best punt of the game came in the second quarter, 4th and 7 for the Commanders at the Cowboys 43 with 9:20 left in the second quarter. Way had a 40-yard punt that was down by safety Percy Butler at the Cowboys 3. Running back Chase Edmonds and receiver Chris Moore were the Commanders' kickoff returners. Edmonds, over 4 kickoff returns, averaged just 22.5 yards per return. Moore had just 1 kickoff return, but it was a 33-yard return in the third quarter. And receiver River Craycraft was the Commanders' punt returner. He had just 1 punt return, which officially was a 0-yard punt return. And regarding that punt return, safety Tyler Owens committed another special teams penalty, 4th and 18 for the Cowboys at their 9 with 9:53 left in the third quarter. Owens committed a 10-yard illegal block above the waist penalty on a punt return by receiver River Craycraft. Tyler Owens, he has been committing way too many special teams penalties. The 29-18 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles at Northwest Stadium this past Saturday evening, December 20th, 4th and 4 for the Eagles at the Commanders 39 with 18 seconds left in the second quarter. Owens committed a 5-yard defensive offside penalty, negating a missed 57-yard field goal attempt by kicker Jake Elliott and giving the Eagles a first down. Now, Elliott 2 snaps later was wide left on a 52-yard field goal attempt on the next to last snap of the first half. And in fairness to Owens, he in committing this penalty barely appeared to be offside. But the 29-21 win at the New York Giants on December 14th, Owens committed a third quarter 9-yard illegal block above the waist penalty on a kickoff return. The 38-14 loss to the Seattle Seahawks at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football on November 2nd, Owens committed a 5-yard running into the kicker penalty on an extra point by the Seahawks in the second quarter. And the 44-22 loss at the Dallas Cowboys on October 19th, Owens committed a 10-yard illegal block above the waist penalty on a kickoff return by receiver Luke McCaffrey in the second quarter. Tyler Owens in this regular season has committed 5 special teams penalties, all of which have been accepted. Not good. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Monday show, episode 1227. We'll have a lot for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Monday's show, we'll discuss the Washington Capitals, the Washington Wizards, Maryland basketball, and Virginia football. The Caps have 1 game this weekend at the New Jersey Devils, Saturday night at 7. The Wizards have 2 games this weekend, home to the Toronto Raptors, Friday night at 7, and home to the Memphis Grizzlies, Sunday evening at 6. College basketball this weekend includes Maryland home to Old Dominion Sunday evening at 6. And we in college football this weekend have Virginia versus Missouri in the Tech Slayer Gator Bowl at Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville, Florida on Saturday night at 7:30. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday.
Finding ways to be financially savvy is a smart move, and knowing you could be saving money for the things you really want, like that dream home or new ride, is a great feeling. That's why the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you save when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.